Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have you here on Thursday as we do our Thursday coffee chat. So today's coffee chat is something that is super special and something that we don't get to do very often. Today we are going to do an Ask Me Anything with an author of a cool book. So I know many of you are watching all around the world, so if you can go ahead and say hello and tell us where you're tuning in from, that would be awesome. I know we also have a lot of replay watchers because it's really hard as working moms who also homeschool to make it live. So go ahead, if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and say hi, drop in any questions that you might have, and I'll make sure that Bethany Howard, who is our author, gets the questions and she'll be able to answer you later. So my question for you today is, do you doubt that you have passion, purpose, and possibilities? You know, as a working mom who's homeschooling, it might feel impossible to dream big. So I'm excited to have Bethany Howard, author of Permission Granted, to share with us her invitation to take up space. Now, before we dig in, I know we've had a lot of new members, so I'm just going to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Jen McKinnon, and I am your host here at the Working Homeschool Mom Club, where we provide daily encouragement and inspiration and the tools we need in order to find joy as a working homeschool mom. And so part of that toolbox that we need is giving ourselves permission to dream big. So I learned about this book. So this is Bethany's book. Let me see here. I can never get the camera right. Here we go. I received Bethany's book, Permission Granted, from a member of our paid community, the Coffee Club. And what we were doing is we were looking for a book to go over as part of like a coffee book club type thing. And so we'll be going through this weekly starting in the month over there. But it is such an amazing book. The layout is amazing. We're going to talk about, you know, what does permission granted mean and all the fun things. I wanted to make sure that all of you had the opportunity to learn about this book. And later I'll share where you can get it, because it's, as far as I know, it's not available on Amazon, right, Bethany?
That's correct, yes.
So we will share the direct link. I'll have it in the comments and it will be in the description of this video later when I remember to do it. So I'm excited and I'm so glad you're here. So this is an Ask the Author Anything session, which means I do have some questions that I gathered from you guys earlier in the week. So I'll be asking those. And then if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments, okay? So before we dig into, you know, putting Bethany in the hot seat, Bethany, can you take a minute and tell us like who you are and go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have been married for 21 years, just about 21 years, and I have 3 teenagers. Yes, I'll take all prayers. Send them my way. I need them all. My kids are Damani, Saren, and Makai. My husband is, his name is Matwan. And we currently live in Tucker, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. And today the sun is shining. You can kind of see back here behind me, the sun is out, and I'm excited because we've had a lot of rain, a very rainy May, so I'm excited to get outside today. But a little bit about me. I love laughing with friends. I love chocolate, coffee, books, music, Netflix, writing, earrings, or I'm a big fan of earrings, and I love encouraging women. And so I decided to put a book together in the middle of a pandemic because I was running out of reasons why I should not. And so I wanted people who enjoyed my work and resonated with it to be able to just flip through it and sit with it and engage with it. And on a screen, when you're scrolling or having to click on blog post after blog post, it's not the same kind of thing. So I wanted to create something that women could engage with, and I thought a book option would be great. And I didn't want it on Kindle. I wanted it to be in their hands and something that they could hold and carry with them. And I also wanted it to be something beautiful and special, and so that when they picked it up, they felt that it was for them and created for them.
I love all of that. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me is the pandemic was a perfect time. I
Mm.
think all of us are really like feeling the stress and the pressure. And so a book that allows us to sit and practice self-care, even just for a few minutes, is such a great idea. So that was perfect timing. And I'm glad that you ran out of reasons to say no.
I am too.
So that's funny. I've been married, it'll be 21 years this year, and I have two teenagers. And I always tell people
Okay.
I have two teenagers and the gray hair and the coffee addiction to prove it. So
Yes, yes. You see the, oh wait, see, I just did it. Where am I? Right here. There's, all this is gray. See, look at, oh my gosh, Jen, this is terrible. It's right here. Here it is. Yeah, there's a lot of gray. The lighting is helping me, but yeah, it's all there. That's one of the things from the pandemic. I was like, you know what? I'm 43 and I have gray hair, and I'm okay with that. So I kind of quit coloring it.
well, they just look like blonde highlights to me, so you're good. Or
Very
what
good.
does I think it was my daughter who used to call them wisdom highlights. And I
Ooh,
was like,
she's a smart girl.
I just need the wisdom to go with the highlights. But anyway, okay. Before I get us completely sidetracked. So the title of the book is Permission Granted. What does that mean?
Well, permission granted is a reminder. It's a reminder that we don't have to seek permission or wait for it because it was granted long ago when we were created and when we were created with gifts and talents and purpose. So the permission that sometimes we wait for was already given when we were given talents and gifts. We don't need to wait for another one. And I think but so often I need that reminder because sometimes I'm tentative, sometimes I'm scared, sometimes I'm full of doubt. And so sometimes I need the reminder that, hey, Bethany, the permission slip was signed a long time ago. You just have to run with this, girl. You just have to run with it. And so the excuses that I come against, the doubt, the fear, um, those are just all things that keep me stuck. And so I've decided that I need this reminder to kind of take up my space and step into what I'm made for. And it reminds me to have grit and determination. Like not everything is easy that you're going to step into. I think sometimes permission granted, it's not just like, yeah, go get yourself an ice cream cone. Like it's a little bit more gritty than that sometimes, and it can help us do hard things.
I love that. I love that. It's so ironic to me that we're having this discussion because I run a paid mastermind and I just took it was just this week where I was like debating with myself on trying something. Now I'm a
Mm.
perfectionist for myself. Even though I know I'm like I'll never get it perfect and that feeling is so important, I still struggle with that fear of like questioning myself. Can I do this? I don't know, it's too hard. I'm not smart enough and I have all these reasons
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes our reasons are not reasons, they're excuses. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that all reasons are not reasons,
Right.
but sometimes we get ourselves so caught up in making all these excuses that we don't do the hard thing because we're so
Yeah.
scared, right? So I love that. That is so I think I needed to hear that again. The people in my group were like, "It's okay, you can do it scared." And I say that all the time, but sometimes taking our own advice, right? As a mom is really
Yes.
hard. So I love that.
It definitely is. And throughout the process of putting the book together and actually like hitting the submit button to buy an ISBN number, which for whatever reason was a huge leap for me. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really doing this. Am I really doing this? And what was interesting to me as I kind of reflected back, because I think I usually am very like, it's this or it's this. It's this or it's this. Like there's not, I forget that sometimes think two things can be true at the same time. And
Mhm.
so I was astounded to find myself like as I was launching the book at that stage of it, as I was launching it, that I was in way over my head and having the time of my life at the same time.
I
And
love
I did not think that was possible. I thought those were like mutually exclusive things. Like, how can you do both of those things at the same time? But it happened. And so that does make me like, okay, well, I can be scared and do brave things.
I love that. Yes, I completely agree. We can be scared and still do brave things. That's amazing. All right, let me move on to the next question. It says, tell us how we've stepped into permission granted in our lives.
This was a question that I wasn't sure exactly what the person meant, but I think I answer that question like it's a similar question, I think, to some of these other ones coming up.
Okay.
But I think in my life, I just had to realize for me that, for one, permission granted doesn't mean that I pull myself up by my bootstraps and I just do it all. So one of the ways I came up with the permission granted tagline was actually from my dog, who cannot do anything by herself. She has to have company. She has to have a friend. She needs somebody with her at all times. And so I realized, I was watching her one day, the back door is open, it's a gorgeous day outside. Her nose is twitching, her tail is wagging ridiculously fast. She wants to be outside so badly, and she won't go. She's stuck right there. And I walked out on the porch with her, and she stayed on the porch with me. And then I walked down off the porch, and she started racing around the yard like it's what she was meant to do. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm my dog. I am my dog. And I realized that sometimes I need people beside me. I need a coworker. I need friends to check on me, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to apologize for that. And I have permission granted to be who I am and have needs and desires and wants. And so that was kind of how permission granted kind of started. And one of the ways that I see it come about in my life, that okay, if I need help, I just need help. Like, I don't have to apologize for that. I just seek out the help that I need.
Yes, I think I'm going to be saying this a lot, so I need new words to say. I love that. Because as you were talking about your dog, I was like, oh my word, how many of us? So this is a working mom and homeschooling group. So all of the moms in here have come to that place in their lives where they're standing there like on the edge, looking outside at what they want, whether it's homeschooling
Yes.
their kids or starting a new job or maybe putting in new routines. And I think all of us need to know that it's okay to need support system, to need help, to need someone like our community here on Facebook, or even our paid membership, is to like come in and say, I need someone there to check on me. I need someone to bounce ideas off of, to say, you can do this. Sometimes those few little words impact our life in such a big way.
Definitely.
So, that's good.
Definitely.
All right. So, what are some benefits to taking up space as a woman, not only a mom?
I love this question. I think as I process this all, I'm not only a mom. It's not what makes me me. I was Bethany before I was a mother. And when I take up my space as a woman, I'm honoring my whole person, who I am. And when I engage in my passion, purpose, and possibilities, I'm living as a whole integrated person. And that makes me a better mom, a better partner, a better community member. And a woman, what I've realized is, a woman who is living as a whole person, she's not slicing and dicing up herself and compartmentalizing to the point where she's lost who she is. There's pieces of her in the closet, some of hers under the couch, swept under the rug, and some of it she's just completely misplaced. She doesn't know where it is anymore. And when we pursue permission granted, and when we pursue taking up our space as a woman, it benefits everybody. It can't help but do that.
Yeah, that's correct. Hi, Jen. Thanks for joining us. Jen says, it's so good. Yes, so good to acknowledge that we need help, even if it's just support, cheerleading, etc. I need to learn how to read. Yeah. So I'm not going to say that. I really appreciate the mental pictures that you're providing. I
Mhm.
can visualize, and I remember those moments, especially when my kids were really small and I hadn't started working or homeschooling. I mean, really small. And thinking, where would I be in 10, 15 years when my kids were grown up, had their own
Mhm.
lives? Would I remember the things that I liked to do? Would I remember my dreams? Would
Mhm.
I remember that I was, as you said,
Agreed.
like I was Jen before I had kids, and I'm
Mhm.
still Jen with kids. And, I'm not saying that mom isn't an amazing job, because it is.
Right.
But I think as moms, especially if you work or you follow your passions or your goals, it really helps free you up to be your own person and to remember that you have likes and
Yeah.
dislikes and skills that are not tied directly to your kids.
Yes.
And that's so important to remember, that we are
Mm.
allowed to have interests that do not involve, well, at that time it was like Bob the Builder. I don't know if he still exists, but when my kids were small, it was Bob the Builder everywhere, or Dora the Explorer. So, yes, I
Mhm.
knew a lot about them, more than I really wanted to, and that was okay. But I also had skills and things I wanted to learn, that were important to me as a person.
Mhm.
So, really great.
Yes.
All right, the next question is, and I really like this question, it says, as busy moms, I mean, we've got our jobs, homeschooling, our kids, running our house. What do you recommend to remind us to continue to step into giving ourselves permission?
Yeah, it really is such a great question. And when I think about this, I think of my kids. Um, and I think about how I want each of them to take up their space, how I want them to embrace their gifts and their talents and run with them and do what they were created to do, that only they were created to do. And I hope so much for them. And I want them to, yeah, to take up their space. And so my question is then, when does that responsibility for our gifting, for using our gifting and for taking up our space end? Like, when do I stop wanting this for them? And the answer is I don't, and I won't. And so my passion and purpose and possibilities don't have an expiration date. Like, my mom wants to see me continue to be all that I can be. And I think that it's a really great reminder for me, like, oh gosh, I want this so much for them, but I still have that same responsibility for myself.
Mhm.
And when I step into that and when I do those things, the amazing thing about it is that it's also a model for them to see, oh, okay, this is what it looks like to be a whole person. Um, and so it's really, really powerful. But in practical terms, I think, we have to make space for it. We have to schedule it. For women who are working and homeschooling, and then all of the other things that are on your plate, yeah, we're going to have to be purposeful about it. So maybe that means you put the easel in the kitchen where light and life is, and you paint when you can. Maybe that means you buy new running shoes, you sign up for a race. Maybe you sign up for a class. Maybe you go ahead and have the hard conversation that you've been putting off. Maybe you buy the book that's going to stretch you and make you grow. And if doubt starts sneaking up on you and whispering little lies to you in your ear, look at your kids and remember what you hope for them and what you long for them. And then just go ahead and give that gift to yourself.
That's really good.
It's hard. It's not always easy, right? It's
Yeah.
not, but it's always going to be worth it. That
Mhm.
you're not, I'm not going to regret. You're not going to regret. No one will regret taking up their space in a way that honors the person that they've been created to be.
Yeah. And I really like the reminder that if you're not, like you kind of said, if you don't feel like doing it for you, look at your kids. Because like it or
Mm-hmm.
not, our kids are watching. Like,
Yeah.
they are watching, and they will pick up on all the things you don't want them to learn from you. So the more
Yes.
good, the more they can see you um, doing hard things or following your dreams, then you're giving them the model for them to follow, that it's okay for them they're going to
Yeah.
have less doubt. They're going to have more confidence because you've already laid that foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great opportunity to have conversations, with the kids, and even like, oh, hey, I submitted a publication, and it got passed up, but that's okay. Like, I'm stepping out, I'm trying to take up my space, and I'm not going to be everywhere. Like, that doesn't even make sense, but I'm going to continue to show up for myself and put myself out there because that's what I want for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always like how kids will take your words and give them back to you. So one of the questions I always ask my kids when they're like nervous to do something, I'm like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And like I said this week, I've been like, I don't know, can I do this? Blah blah. And my kids say, so what's the worst that can happen? And I'm like,
I love it. I love it.
we're glad they're listening, but really here.
Yes, yes.
All right. So the next
That's
question
awesome.
is really good. So what is your vision for women who read books?
Gosh, this one almost makes me cry. Yeah, it's my vision for the women who read this book is that they will be empowered and encouraged to take up their space in their home and in their world, and through that courage, their families and their communities will be impacted. My hope is that women will show up real and strong and brave as they embrace permission granted. That's my vision. That's my hope for this little book that possibly can.
I like that. So it's one of the things, so I don't have this in the questions that I told Bethany I would ask her. So I'm going to take a side trip. But if you have, I know many of the members in the coffee club have already gotten their books. Erin said that she got her book and she had to put it away because she wanted to dive in right away. And we're not starting it until June. So I was like, wait for me. So I actually put mine on. I'm in the middle of like renovating my living room. Well, I call it renovating. It's more like demo. Like it's a hot mess. So this is the back.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So I put it aside because I was like, I don't want to dig in too early. But one of the cool things about this book is that it's the perfect size and it fits in most like bags or whatever you're taking with you. And the poems are it's a poetry book and like a journal. So there's space. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's got like space to write. It's got why can't I do this? Doodle pages, and it's not something that's going to take, and we're going to answer this question a little bit more, but it's not something that's going to take hours.
Yeah.
You guys are busy moms. Like, I'm busy. I don't have time. Well, the problem with me in reading is that I sit down for like 10 minutes and I have to set a timer because I like dive into the book and never come out. So I set myself up with like 15 minutes, but 15 minutes, I think, with this book, you could do a lot. Like you could really be inspired and encouraged to, and reflect. I think it's well written for moms and women who are busy because we do have so much on our plate. You guys hear me talk about it all the time, like protect your time, protect your energy, protect your money. And so the things that we invest in when it comes to our time and money and energy need to have an impact. And I think that this is a really great way to spend your time and energy. Okay, now that I've gone on my tangent, I will ask the next question. So, in the past, you've had moms read the book. What kind of changes have you seen from women who were to take the time to journal through your book? So, remind us like why it's been worth the time and energy.
I think that actually I have an author friend, and she told me, she said, Bethany, I want to be able to like write. I need space to write, to engage with your pieces. And I was like, okay. And so then I decided, okay, well, maybe we just need some questions to go along with each piece. And so that's kind of what I've done. And I've seen actually a few pictures of people who have written in the book, and it makes me so excited. because it's not one of those things that's precious. Like it is, but it's not. Like I want people like tape notes in it, doodle in it, bring out your favorite markers, tape a little watercolor picture in it. However you engage is fine. Highlight it, circle words, whatever that looks like for you. And so I don't have, I'm not privy to everything that's transpired as women have read the book, but I do have some people who have come back and say, like, this is what's happened. And, one of them just recently switched jobs, like just this week, took a new position because she wasn't fulfilled anymore or comfortable where she was at. Another person was contemplating a career switch. And another person, multiple people have bought multiple copies so that they have them on hand when somebody is just in a rough spot, when they just feel like, somebody just needs a reminder that they have permission granted to step into what they're made for. And so they have them on hand, which I think is the sweetest thing ever. My book has graced the floor of a teenage girl's room, and I consider that a huge honor. I really do. Her mom sent me the picture, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So of course I posted it with permission. And then one of my favorite stories is a woman who has always been an encouragement to me, but always a fan of my work and has taken encouragement from it. And one of the people that she met through me, she messaged me and she said, "Does this woman have your book? Where does she live? How do I get a book to her?" And so I did some investigative work and I said, okay, I think I figured out where she lives, and she's not close to you, because that's what she was asking, because she had extra books and wanted to be able to give her a book. And I said, I looked and she has not purchased the book. She said, okay, I want to buy one for her. She does not need to know who has purchased this book for her. And I said, oh, okay, that's amazing. Yes, I'll make sure she gets it. So she did not know it was coming, and it was in a very hard time in her life. And she took a picture of when she found the package in her mailbox, and whew, it's like pure joy. And you can see it on her face, what it meant to her. And I still obviously impacts me, because it just, like, she needed that. And the book was there because I was obedient to what I was called to. And this other woman was obedient to what she was hearing and saying, she needs this book. And so she was obedient. And as a result of that, this woman was encouraged, that neither of us have ever met in person. So that's been one of my favorite pictures, because it's like she's just like the light in her eyes, like it's back, it's there, and it's just amazing.
And it underlines the power of online friendships and connections. I know,
Yes.
a lot of people in my offline world do not get it. They don't understand that we understand the connections and the support system that's online, and how these are real people with real feelings. So I can show the outside of the card, Bethany's book as a gift. It was a surprise gift. I had asked for something and someone sent it to me, and the response was, "Enjoy the journal. It's a fun one." So I am super excited and thankful, because I live in Canada, and unfortunately, shipping across the border is a nightmare. I know, because I order all the time and it's like, ugh. So it's extremely hard to get. And then there's surprise. It's had some wonderful means not wonderful experiences with shipping across the border. So I was really, really excited. But one of our members in the coffee club actually lives in Canada, and Bethany went above and beyond all expectations to make sure she had a copy in her hands. So if any of you are outside of the United States and you want a copy, I recommend, I will give you the place where you can purchase it, and then just go in and contact Bethany, and she will try to figure out how to get it to you. because it's not an easy process, but it's definitely worth it. Or if you have friends, try to get them to ship it because it seems to be a little bit easier. But it makes a great gift. Actually, I have a couple of people local that I'm thinking could definitely use this, so we'll see. But also from, I don't know if it's like my personal like thing, but writing in a book is like, oh, you don't do that. But because this has the action, like the lines and the boxes, I feel like I've given permission to go ahead and jot notes in it. So it's really well made.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we have one more question, and this is was asked earlier. So sometimes when we want to try something new, we feel like it's just one more thing to do, one more thing added to it. You know, all of you guys are super busy. You have your work, you have homeschooling your kids, you have all the things of running a household, and time is limited. And so one mom asked, you know, like, how can I make this so it's not just one more thing on my list? I mean, I have to write stuff down, really engage, and I already feel like I have a zillion of these self-growth things to do. So what advice would you give her?
Yeah, one of the things I would say is that you can use this book however you want to. So if writing or if answering the questions or writing things down is just not where you're at right now, that's fine. The poetry, what I've heard from people again and again, is that it's accessible. It's not something that you're trying to determine, like, okay, what does she mean by this? It's almost like we're sitting there talking in a coffee shop, and I'm just kind of sharing, you know, a story from me or a story from me from 5 years ago, or just a woman that I know or have made up in my mind. But they're all very accessible. So it's not something that is going to be a lot of work and a lot of energy in order to engage in it. I mean, it's something that you could take with you. Let's say you carry it in your purse, and every week when you go to get groceries, you take 10 minutes in the car before you go in. I mean, that's my favorite thing. I'm like, I'm at the grocery store. I'm just going to sit here and read a chapter. But that's one easy way that you could really actually make it happen. You know, maybe before you get up from the dinner table in the evenings, you sit there and you read a couple of the pieces. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. That I created the book purposely without structure. I didn't want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I didn't want anything in there. I just wanted somebody to be able to you could flip it open. Like, I know you're going to try to do a schedule, but you know, when you engage with it after the book club, you can flip it open and just say, okay, this is where I'm going to read today. So there's multiple ways to engage with the pieces and with the book and not feel a lot of pressure to have to answer every question. Maybe only one of the questions resonates with you. Just answer that one.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because today on Instagram, I think I shared it to my stories. This mom was like, busy mom self-care hack. And she said, after you arrive home in your car, sit for 10 minutes in your car without the kids, without like, and it was like 10 minutes make such a big difference. So, you know, if you keep a copy in your car, which you totally could, I mean, it would fit.
Yep.
But another thing about poetry that I find is that the first time you read a poem, you might feel a certain way because that's where you are in your life. And so you get one thing out of it. And then the next time you go through and you might read that exact same poem and get a totally different feeling or lesson from it.
So true.
And the great thing about this is, like, yes, we're going to go through it in our coffee club membership, you know, for 8 weeks. We're going to go through and we'll like share how we're feeling, but you have the book. So you can pull it off your shelf anytime you need to. You can go through it again and get completely different inspiration and encouragement. And usually it's whatever you need right then. Yeah. So I always find that interesting with poems, is, well, any type of book, you know, it will change depending on where you are.
It's amazing.
All right, so I'm going to take a quick peek. I don't think we have any more questions, Bethany. So if there's anything else you wanted to add, go ahead and then we'll, I shared the link, everyone, in
Okay.
the comments as to where, so that's, Bethany has more than just this book on her store. So she has, I forgot.
I have a bracelet. Woo! See, can we do this? It says permission granted. I make these in-house. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to work with the camera. I also have little stickers. Well, they're not little. They're like this big that say "Take up your space." My son has one on his water bottle, which I adore. Yes, there she is.
It only took 10 tries.
And funny enough, I also have temporary tattoos that say permission granted and the little logo that goes along with it. They're navy and the coral. And they're just fun. Like if I'm just struggling, if I'm feeling stuck, you know what? I'm just gonna stick on a temporary tattoo and just own it. So something fun, because why not? It's just something fun. So yeah, I think that's it. I think.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I shared that link as well, so you can go and see everything that's on there and find out. If, again, guys, if you have questions, if you're watching the replay, I know most of you will be watching the replay, go ahead and leave the questions in the comments if we didn't get them answered. And I'll drive Bethany crazy later, send them to her. And for those of you in the coffee club, I'm excited to get started in June. So we'll share more about that over there. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Bethany, for everything that you've given us today. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Jen.